ball hogs, what do you do with them? If there is players on your team that keep dribbling the ball and they keep losing it, and what do you do? You're supposed to be about development, right? What happens when the development is only about one player and they keep running the game for everyone else to get developed, and you have parents screaming on the sideline? A bunch of problems. Anyways, I have a question from a listener, and it says, I would love to hear your thoughts on style of play and ball hogs in youth soccer. The podcast experts all scream to embrace the ball hog and seem to delight emphasizing the 1v1. That would seem fine for the little ones. When you get to U13 and 11-a-side pitches, it makes for some extremely ugly soccer. On the size of the pitch, one player that is only interested in 1v1 and their own goal and is uninterested in the team really takes away from the game for all the other players. I would think that at some point, the art of the pass needs to be learned just as much as the art of dribbling. Finally, there is more opportunity for an entire team to have quality touches when everyone is playing as a team. So he has two questions, which I'll read in a second. But the one thing that needs to be understood, especially how I do things when I'm coaching youth, it's always about the individual. You have to put every individual in a situation of they need to play to their strengths and they need to develop their weaknesses by being allowed to think. And everyone's on their own level. So I'm going to give you an example. I was in Tucson last night and I was consulting a team. And when I consult teams, I watch them play and I give the coach advice, and occasionally I'll address the team and give information or go to the practices and do the same. But the game is more important because I could literally look over every pass, where the passes are being made, how many touches each player's making, and etc. There was one player on this team, the 10. He was playing 10 at the time, and this kid they're 13 years old, by the way. This kid is ridiculous. Like, his technique was just out of this world. He is like a little messy. He would hardly lose a ball. He knew how to spin, turn, get away, and combine passes. He does that very well. But as far as him taking on players, he would only escape pressure, which is a good thing, but he would never take risk in the final third. And this kid could out-dribble everybody. He just needs a little confidence. So I was talking to the coach. I'm like, listen, get your number 10 and make a rule for him. Because every time they got an attacking third, he would look to pass wide or, pass it backwards, just keep possession. And he needs to be pushed to the next level. And you can see it. Everyone can see it. This kid is so technically sound and he could beat players 1v1, no problem. But he wasn't really taking that risk. He would just kind of react to the situation. So I told the coach, I'm like, we got to offset this kid. And when I say offset, is when you want to get a player to do something that's not in their characteristic, but you want to fix that, you have to offset it by creating rules, which I'm against rules, but you have to create extremes so they can balance themselves out. So the rule was every time this player got in the final third, he's taking on the whole back line. And when I say the whole back line, he's dealing with 1v1 because it's a flat line. They're not. There's really no first and second defender. The second defender is usually from behind, pushing you towards the attacking goal. And you beat one, you beat the whole back line. So we made that the rule. And he got in, drew a penalty kick, and did well there. And he took some other risks, and they weren't successful. But he was learning. And once it clicks in his brain, then he'll be able to understand. And then you give him more freedom. Hey, you have the opportunity to pass. You also have the opportunity to take on the whole back line because you only have to beat one. You beat them all because they're flat. Anyways, so I would say you focus on the individual. You totally focus on the individual. But to the questions. So there's two questions. The first question is, at what age is constant dribbling and turnovers not to be encouraged anymore? So that's I don't want even when I was coaching U6, I coach U4. U4 is completely different. That's just everyone has a ball pretty much, and the goal is to know which direction you're going. But when U6 and you're trying to figure things out, it's all about, trying to get them spacing so they all can do their thing. And it depends, because if you're with a technical group, you can find 5-year-olds, Hispanic 5-year-olds that can play. I see them in the tournaments and stuff, and they don't play 3-on-3. They play like 8-on-8 in these huge uniforms. It depends on their technical ability, not the age. It's like karate. Are they black belt, brown belt? That's how you pair. You don't do it by age. So let's just assume it's a competitive team. It's more of competing and traveling a little bit. So say U8 and they play and travel. I would still have the same focus for a U8 team as I would on a U12 for the individual. I don't want turnovers. I never have. I don't like players dribbling just to dribble. I always had simple rules for every age. It's for them to have success. And it would be when you can make a pass, make it early, and then don't just kick it in hopes it would go somewhere. Lose it dribbling, trying to find a pass. I don't think little ones should be like going 1v1 at players at all times. I think they do that on accident because they can't process everything. They don't know, they can't look up. So they're always in a situation of 1v1s. But when you actually have a team that can actually spread it, U8, U10, U12, you got the spacing down. They know their position. You want everyone to get a touch on the ball. You do. But under rules where they have the choice. So I've covered this topic many times. I hate saying age. I love talking about individuals. That's why I do stats. Some players can play one-touch soccer. Some players can play two-touch soccer. Some need 3, 4, 5 touches in order to recognize the passes. It's not about putting your head down and dribbling, okay? But if you have a player that is special, like I had a U8, or no, U6, U4, my daughter's first team. I created a U4 league, and there was a girl on this team, and her name was Naomi Aguilar, and at 3 years old, she could dribble everybody and score goals. She just could do it. There's always those players. So we built a team around her and my daughter, and we took that team, and they stayed together for, 6-7 years before I handed them off, and then it was destroyed. But at U8, she could dribble the whole field and score goals, and we let her. She didn't lose the ball. She won games. Now, did I change, when we're up by 3, did I have her play different positions and look to combine? Yes, I always gave her that, but I would allow her to be her, and she was just special. So you don't want to deny them of that. You do want to introduce the opposite of what they're good at, if that makes sense. So if they can dribble and it's just too easy, now let's see if they can do the next step of the game, which is passing and receiving. Is she able to receive the pass and get it back again and combine to someone else? I would challenge players like that was already in their body, and she could do it. Of course, she ended up playing Division I soccer at ASU. She was born to be a soccer player. It just, every situation's different. You're not going to always have a little Messi on your team. But if you do, you have to challenge them. You can't just let them dribble to find their opportunities of winning for the parent or the coach. You need to challenge them. Let them score goals. At the same time, see if they can learn how to combine, and then you'll see amazing things. So what age is constant dribbling and turnovers not to be encouraged anymore? It's not an age. It's not an age at all. And the second question is, when you have a few players that are still like this and they are now the exception of the team, what would you recommend doing to get them on the same page as other players? Very simple for me. It's using math and showing them math. Now I'll show you a different kind of math I did for teams. I did this back in 2013 for my college team, but the same can be applied to any team. Having data is so important. Math solves all. So here is my 2013 team. They're playing Arizona Western Community College. And what I was able to do, so we're going to look at, here's Sakai Aohara. By the way, he is in the Bundesliga right now. And he's actually doing really well, scoring a lot of goals. But let's look at what we're recording. So he had 20 forward passes, and we gave those forward passes a ×2 on the total score. So we got 40. And then back passes, he had only 4 in the game, and we gave that ×1 because we don't create a negative pass as valuable as a forward pass, which is more positive towards the goal we're trying to score in. And then if he gave the ball away backwards, that would be ×2. And if he gave the ball away going forward and made a pass going forward and it was intercepted, that was only ×1. So we were letting them know that it was not positive to pass the ball backwards and have it intercepted. You don't want that. That's a big problem. And we gave a total score. So he had 33 total passes, and he ended up with a total score of 105. So in his 105 score, we allowed other data to come in, like hustle. So if you read on in this data, hopefully he had 15 hustle plays, and what we consider hustle play, and we gave it ×3, is when you actually double team, and it was like a 10-yard sprint to double team. So you applied pressure. You got around the ball, and it was a 10-yard sprint. So we created value. So we gave opportunity for the ones that weren't able to have success passing and receiving. They could focus on the other side, which is defending. So we wanted to give everyone an opportunity to have good scores. And then you can see dive-ins. We had I put a ×7 on diving in because that was a big deal to us. If you dove in, I'd rather group defend, no diving. So if you dive in, meaning you're in a 1v1 situation, you dive in and try and win the ball versus delay, wait for help, especially with those hustle points I created, it allowed team defending. And I was able to change the tactics of the game through math. Anyways, so he was in first place for a lot of categories, but he got 105 points in total score. The 115 above isn't Alexis. I wonder who that is because I sorted and it kind of took names all over the place. Doesn't matter. So he got 105, and I was able to rank them. So you can see some players like got -5, but their minutes were diminished. He got -5 because I remember this game. He got red carded to a double yellow. So he was in and out real quick. So he's denied opportunity, but he had -5. And then we had some players at 0 and 8. And this is a fair opportunity to say, hey, this is your score. This is something you can really look over. I even broke it up. So this is just possession. So our top possession went to Sakai Aohara and Ryo Sugahara, 2 Japanese kids. We played with 2 10s basically, and they tied in possession. So I was able to break it down by possession, hustle only stats. So here's our hustle stats. Move me out of the way. So here's our hustle stats where it was broken down, and Sakai was in first with 97. And then Sway Henriquez, who played at Old Dominion, he an amazing player. Jesus Zazueta, Gatorade Player of the Year from Colorado. He was actually a dreamer, so at the time it was very difficult to move dreamers on to the next level, but the kid was a Division I player. And just below that is Tafada Swasaweo, who ended up being at starting for GCU Division I. these are talented kids, but they have numbers to look at. I don't know if that makes sense, but numbers solve all. So if you really want to help educate the parents and the players, you got to show data. So if they keep dribbling and losing it, you have to show them, hey, congrats, you megged a kid and kept the ball. That was amazing. But you dribbled the ball and lost it eight other times. That's not amazing. So let's fix that. Let's see if you can dribble and beat someone and then find a pass. If you do that, that's worth 10 points. You can manipulate that way. There's no perfect solution, but you know your team. You can use math and show them, and you'll be shocked when parents actually do it. And I'd have the parents keep the stats, make it simplistic for them, and then add to it. Don't throw them a bunch of stats. Hey, you got to keep track of it. They're not going to be able to do it. But if you simplify, I've done it in so many different ways where I just gave them a piece of paper printed in the soccer diagram, and I would just have them dot where every time they had the ball, where on the field, and then an arrow where it went, and if it was positive or negative. And just look at it, and then they would give it to me, and then I would log it. That's important. It's not, I'm not a big fan of putting all the everything on a camera, an expensive camera that can record the stats, and you put markers on them so they can track everything they do and break down the plays. I want the parents doing it. Now, if you have the video and the parents don't want to do it during the game and they want to do it late, they need to be involved. They need to see it. They need to pay attention. I had a parent, when I had them do it, who yelled at me at State Cup for not playing their daughter in a game where we beat the number one team in the state, who hasn't lost to anyone in Arizona in over 2 years, and we beat them up in Tucson 2-0. Yell at me. Now, I'm not about benching kids, but I made the rules very, very clear. I'm going to play everyone equally until State Cup. Give everyone opportunity. And in State Cup, they limit your subs at the time. And you only had 3. So they're like, oh, we got to be like national team or whatever, or FIFA. So they did that. They thought that was developing kids. It's so stupid. Anyways, they limited your subs, and we won. And I got yelled at. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I just took a team who majority of these girls got cut from other clubs, come to me because I'm the problem solver for kids that are denied opportunity, and I play in a certain way that, we can beat anybody because it's all about keeping the ball, and getting yelled at like that. And then that same summer, we're playing in a women's league. They're U17. We're playing in a women's league. And I was having him keep stats. And he came and apologized because he had no idea his daughter lost the ball as much as she did. They don't recognize it. They only want to see the good. Make them keep stats. That will solve problems. Teach through numbers. Develop through numbers. Have them try different things and make it a math. Reward them for getting points. I would change the category's values based on what I saw. If we're not working hard, if we're not doing enough sprints, getting back and defending, I would create a value for that to be very important. And in college, I could put it on the wall. Here's our hustle stat winners. Here's all the data, and they would all go there after a game, and it took me a long time to do it, freaking long time, because I had to watch the film and I'd stop it because there's a lot of passing going on, and then I would compare both sides of the stats, and they would just stare at the board, and they want to be on top, And I even had to break it down. The midfield was here, the defenders were here, the goalkeepers here, and forwards are there. So because they're all competing against those positions. It's kind of not fair to have, your left and right back competing with your center mids. I mean, center mids are going to get the ball a lot. Left and right back passes are typically always going forward, so they're always doubling. And so, depending on who you're playing and how the pressure is, they're not doing too well because they're clearing balls which don't have a value. at the time. You can create values for it. So I don't know if that made sense. I think math is the key to change anything with a team and to change an individual. So I think that's what you need to do. Hopefully that answered your question, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, because I'm moving on in life, and I'm getting out of here. And I got work. I got real work, because this isn't work. This is lose money kind of thing, because this costs money. All right, see you guys tomorrow. Peace.